Oh, hey everybody. So I'm going to give you a breakdown on this little wiring harness that I made for this light. Hang on a second here. Alright, so I was asked by a friend of mine to do a little video on what I'm doing to my American DJ lights. So here's a quick little breakdown on the parts that I got for this process. I'll show you where this all hooks up in another video, but for right now, so I wanted to make my lights wireless. To do that, I obviously needed a wireless transmitter receiver. So I went on eBay and I just did a simple search for DMX wireless PCB and came up with this guy. This is a DMX wireless transmitter receiver. Comes with this antenna. There's a little connector right there. You can see it for the antenna, and then this is the wiring harness that attaches the back. Alright, in addition to, inside my light, when I opened it up, and I'll show you this in another video, I found the DMX connector, and it's very similar to this one right here, which is a common PC type connector. So I found another place on eBay. I don't remember what I exactly searched for, but just another place on eBay where I got these. And it has this end on it. The wires were not in this order, so I used a little screwdriver and pulled the wires out and put them in the order I wanted, and then got them prepped. I put a piece of shrink wrap on the two that I was going to cut and solder, just to get that prepped. These colors are also not in order, so I also rearrange those when I get to it. In addition to, this board runs on 5-volt power. I'll show you later in my lights. I found a 12-volt power source right off the main power supply of the light. It goes into a PCB board, and there's a 12-volt solder point that I can jump off of. But this is 5-volt. So in order to get my 12-volt light to 5-volt source for this guy, I went on eBay and found these little boards. These little boards are a 5-volt, is a 12-volt to 5-volt converter board. It's got these little pins that stick off. You can get them with or without the pins. In my case, I decided to I was going to use pins on one side and no pins on the other. So I just took my soldering iron and I desoldered my solder sucker there and desoldered the outside of the pins, because I'm going to actually solder wires to those. So when all that is done, we have all those pieces. I'll show you one harness that I've already completed. Move some of this stuff out of the way. And we'll grab this. Alright. So there's my little 12-volt to 5-volt converter board that I soldered. The wiring harness for the PCB, the wireless receiver, this guy. Remember I showed you this wiring harness that clips into the bottom of this guy. Has ground, transmit, receive, and 5-volt. This wiring harness, this clip here is the same thing. Like I said, these wires were not in order. That made sense to me. I'm not a professional, so I reconfigured it so it made sense to me. So when I reordered these, get some of the stuff out of the way, you can see that I ordered them in this configuration: ground, white, yellow, and 5-volt, which matches that setup: ground, white, yellow, 5-volt. So then I just took the red and black and wired it to the outside of my power board, the 5-volt outside. Later I'll show you where this side connects in my light. So that will give me power to this guy. Once I plug in that harness, boom, I got 5-volt and ground power. Then these are my data plus and minus, my transmit and receive wires. As I mentioned, when I looked in my light, I noticed that the DMX cable was just one of these little PC cables. So I found a place that had a bunch of those. So basically what I can do is I can unplug the DMX connector. I'll show you this all in the assembly video. I can unplug the DMX connector from the light, plug it into this side, and then plug this side back into the board. That way I'm not modifying the original harness at all. I'm only modifying parts. This entire process is only going to make 2 modifications to the original light. Those 2 modifications are, 1 is going to be getting the wires soldered for power, and then 2 is a small little pinhole that we drill in the bottom so that we can access this channel selector, this little push button. So I'll show you that during the assembly video. So anyway, once I got that all wired up, you can see why I had the shrink wrap on. I just stripped some wire back, wound it around there, soldered that up, shrink wrapped it, and that's basically the gist of my wiring harness. So the remaining pieces that I'll show you is I got these little, these are for like breadboard electronics. I got black and red for those. So what we'll be doing is I bought these thinking I was going to use all the push buttons. I'm actually going to end up cutting one of these and soldering it for power, and then we'll keep the other side of the clip to slide right onto these guys. And I'll show you that in the next video.